So Shavin basically put Max Verstappen, 2023 World Drivers Champion, and Red Bull, 2023 World Constructors Champion.
Yeah, I think that site tells you everything you need to know. But yeah, it seems like it. I think just based off of the 3 days of testing, Red Bull look comfortably the fastest car. Checo setting the fastest time, and it's not just that. I mean, how comfortable the car looked in testing, and how quick the car was even in the long runs. It looks very scary for the rest of the grid. And I think to put it into context, I'm more scared about the season now, like going into this season, than I was after maybe Red Bull won in Spa last year, which is probably their most dominant performance. I think I'm more scared because just looking at how confident the team is, and how confident Verstappen looks, because he's smiling, he looks so calm. And I mean, it's rare that you come into a season where you find both drivers really hyping up the car so much, and Perez and Max have done. I mean, Checo and Max have done the same thing, because Checo said that this car is going to be outstanding and it's going to outperform like last year's car, and Max also looks so confident. So, and also given the fact that I think going into this season for the first time, I mean it's crazy to say because last year he was a world champion, but I think for the first time Max is going into this season with all the questions answered, like like how he performs in title race, how he can dominate another team. And he did exactly that. I mean, let's not go into details, but he did exactly that last season. And he's coming in, I think, as the clear favorite. And I think, I genuinely think we can go into this season saying that, I mean, I know people will have different opinions, and, we all have our favorite drivers, but it's only logical to say that Max Verstappen is the best driver in Formula One right now, just based off of how he drove last season, and how the car is performing and the form that he's in. So, I mean, given those two factors, I think, and given how the testing has panned out, I think it seems like a very, very comfortable start, at least for Red Bull. What do you think?
Yeah, let's take a step back, I think, before and talk about the fact that we are just after preseason testing.
Yeah.
We've had that 3 days in Bahrain. Everyone was excited to see Formula One cars back on track, and to see some action as well, which was great to see. And we are just a few days out from lights out in Bahrain.
Yeah.
And quite a few things to talk about in terms of testing. But yes, we can start off because we took Red Bull as our starting point. Yeah, it is very impressive to see how the team has grown, and considering the fact that they had their limitations and constraints with this season, given the cost cap breach last season, and what that brought with it, the fact that they had less development time, less simulation time, and of course the fact that they were champions last season means that you anyway get the least amount of time in the wind tunnel. So they had the most constraints. But to rock up the way they did, and Max, like you said, because the common consensus is that the first day and the second day of testing, the car is not at the sweet spot yet. That is what testing is there for, to understand your car, how it works, and then try to find a setup which will suit you best. And Max just jumps in on the first day, puts in a 157 lap marathon, just in the scorching heat of Bahrain, probably, just puts in lap after lap, sets the fastest time. And then the second day, Checo goes in the morning, he's back again in the afternoon, still, trying to figure out what could be the best for him. And after that, he's done. I think he's, like you said, he's so confident that he doesn't need to have the best of conditions, like not just with the car, but with the track as well, because with track evolution, it becomes easier for the car to be driven.
Yeah.
So he's operating at that level with so much confidence that he knows what he needs to do. And also what I would say with Red Bull is the fact that it was heartening to see the fact that they want to have both their drivers, because Helmut Marko had come out and said that, of course, Max prefers, one type of setup, Checo prefers another type. But they've managed to find a way to build their car in such a way that both drivers can be suited. And that is actually heartening to see. And that means that Red Bull, like you said, seems to be ominous for the other teams, Ferrari included, Merck included, and anyone else who would want to try. But the whole tagline, always with that comes, it's only testing.
Yeah.
But so far from what we've seen, I mean, this after testing last season as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm mixing up my words, too many languages at this point. But at this point last year, Red Bull still had the fastest time, and they turned out to have the fastest car as well.
Yeah.
So right now, Red Bull are the team to beat for sure. Like you said before, the podcast started, this giving off Merck vibes, like 2020 Merck vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of dominance, but the other teams will have some work to do to catch them up, I think.
Yeah, I think also a lot of it was probably to do with how dominant they were last year, and given the fact that they didn't have competition towards the back end of last season, I think they probably were able to start focusing on the 2023 car much earlier than other teams, because Ferrari and Merck were definitely playing catch up towards the end of last season, trying to bridge that performance gap, trying to catch that, to catch that extra second, and Red Bull were far ahead, and I think that definitely gave them a boost despite the limited the internal testing time, and just based off of a few reports that I read, I don't know how true this is, but apparently Red Bull were running a lower engine mode, or they were actually turning down their engines, and we might actually see a quicker Red Bull and a faster Red Bull going into Bahrain, which is even more ominous for the rest of the grid. But I mean, this team looks scary. It genuinely feels like the Merck of like 2019 or 2020. And I can see them. I mean, obviously it could be track specific because Bahrain does work the rear tires quite a lot. It's a very hot track. So maybe going into Saudi and Australia and the races after that, it could change. But from what we can see of testing, it seems like Red Bull is comfortably ahead.
Yeah, certainly. I think you can't, like they say, you can't take too much, but you can get some. You can get some kind of idea, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, things might change come Bahrain, but Red Bull seem to be the team to beat. I mean, easily, because I mean, I don't think anyone would argue with that fact. But moving from Red Bull to their competitors, hopefully for Shavin's sake, Ferrari. Once again, like last year, a decent test for Ferrari.
Yeah.
No problems with reliability like last year. Had decent pace. They finished second behind Red Bull. They seem to still have that gap in terms of probably straight. I'm not sure how the speeds worked out, but I'm guessing it's again with the straight line speed. But they still seem to have a pretty decent package, probably the second best on the grid.
Yeah.
I think you should be satisfied with what they have, or do you think they should have found a few tenths here and there, a bit more to challenge Red Bull?
I think a good way to put it would be, I think Red Bull clearly have a finished product with their car, and they have a car that, like, they put it out on almost any track, it's going to do well. Yeah. I think Ferrari are probably like 95% with their car, like they're still figuring things out, and obviously in their mind they have gone in a completely different direction to Red Bull, and they think that their build and their chassis and their car is going to have a better potential than Red Bull and a higher ceiling than Red Bull. But I think right now they're an easy second. I think I would put them ahead of Merck and Aston Martin, who we'll talk about later. But I think they're an easy second. I don't think that they're going to find. I mean, anything is possible in Formula One, but I don't think they're going to find like any crazy performance between testing and Sunday. So in terms of being satisfied, obviously, given the whole debacle last season, I think we were expecting them to come back strong. But I think obviously they've made changes. Bringing a new chief strategist and bringing in obviously bringing in Fred Vasseur and making a few changes, reducing the number of people on the pit wall to change the decision-making process. There's a lot of changes going on. Whether that will help the strategy is one thing we have to see, and also I think another thing we have to see is strategy wasn't the only issue. They did have reliability issues. So whether they've solved that reliability issue is another thing, and the only way we're going to see that is by seeing the car out on track. Another thing that I've been reading is that apparently, I don't know how true this is, but apparently Carlos Sainz was more comfortable with the car over testing than Charles was.
Okay.
I don't know how true that is, or what kind of where the information is from, but it's something that I read actually on race.com. So, but I think Charles also seems fairly confident with the car, and I guess the only thing I can say is I guess we'll see on Sunday, how far back from the Red Bull they are.
Yeah, true. I think for Ferrari, they were focused on because towards the end of last season, they had to dial down the engine because of the reliability issues. And it seemed like they were working on how they could get the maximum of their power unit without, it basically blowing up. And I think in that sense, I think I also read something where they said they really couldn't get what they wanted in terms of output. They still have a pretty good package, but maybe there's something they can still work on. And I think, like you said, still with Tydek, they have a recurring problem that needs to be solved, because that's where Ferrari and Red Bull had that massive difference, because there were times, if you take races like Singapore and Suzuka, for example, let's say I was behind Verstappen, or in Singapore he was behind Perez, and he was able to attack. But him attacking continuously for those 5 or 6 laps resulted in him losing his tires towards the end. And then once the tires fell off, that gap was massive, and he never could really catch up to the Red Bulls. So that's where they had their problem, which was strange, because at the start of the 2022 season, it was the complete opposite. Ferrari had really good tire management, and Red Bull, they were obviously overweight. It was clear. I mean, they had told us that Red Bull caught off that weight, and they had very good tire management. But I don't understand how. They must have had some development process that ended up costing them in terms of tire management. But still, Ferrari can challenge Red Bull, I would say. If they do the development right, they'll be the team closest to Red Bull. For your sake, sorry. Moving on to team number 3.
Yeah, but before we talk about Merck, I think, which I'm assuming you're going to go to next. Also, to your point, I think it's worth mentioning that if their reliability issues were solved, like Ferrari has been saying, they will find about I think 10 to 15 kilometers per hour, in terms of speed. So which does make a difference. So that's something. Maybe they can catch the straight line speed of Red Bull. Something to watch out.
True.
Yeah.
But true. I mean, that's almost half DRS, right? DRS gives goes to 25-30. So that could be significant. But moving on to the not so much silver arrows anymore. But the car looks cool. It looks very cool. To Mercedes, I think Mercedes themselves, would say that, I don't know, they didn't have bad testing. They had a pretty decent testing, but they still have some questions answered, which we would have not expected, given how they finished the season last time round. Had the they still had the third fastest time, but I think people were expecting them to bridge that gap between Red Bull and Ferrari, between themselves and Red Bull and Ferrari. Sorry, but they still seem to have questions that need to be answered, and the big question will be that zero side pod concept, which they have persisted with. And according to reports, they have claimed that if it doesn't work, if it shows no sign of working, it will be dropped by the halfway. The only problem with that is another season gone without challenging for the championship. And for a team like Merck, they want to be fighting for the championship, especially with Hamilton being there and Hamilton wanting to get that 8th world title. So what do you think? What do you think Hamilton will be feeling? Do you think, because Hamilton was very motivated the first day, not that they had a bad testing once again, but they had the problem with Russell towards the end of day 2. But maybe they would have expected more, Merck.
Yeah, I think if you read a lot of F1, at least a lot of British F1 papers and British F1 articles, you would think that Merc are somehow still in the title race.
Yes.
But no, not all.
But who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
Are very good at sandbagging, aren't they? They're always good at sandbagging.
See, that's the thing. I think if this was a regular Merc season, I think they're saying all the classic things that they're usually saying. So like, we're not happy with the car. We don't know where we'll find performance. But I think given the fact that they were honest last year and last year wasn't a normal season for Merc, I think we have to take them at their word. I think very much like the Ferrari. Actually, I think the Ferrari is in a better position, but I think the Merc is clearly not where the car wants to be. And I think they obviously have a very different concept to everybody with the whole zero side pod concept. But like their technical director, I think Mike Elliott said, it's not really the side pod which is causing Merc's issues or which is limiting the performance. It's obviously the other things as well. I think you can probably attest to this more than me being a aerodynamics engineer yourself.
To be honest, I don't know exactly what's going on with the Merc, but I will check on it and let you know during our first off the grid after the race, by the way. First off the grid season review. Race review.
Yeah, so like Michael was saying, there's so many things that go into the car, like the underflow and everything. And it's not just a side pod concept. So clearly they are figuring out a lot of things with the car, and I think even they don't fully understand, where the issue is. And it's like the fact that it's been going on for like 1.5 season, like almost one season, and now the new season, there is clearly some issue. They have improved obviously from the way they started last year. The one thing I think which sort of, I don't know whether it should worry Merc, but they were really fortunate last year with the way they started, because Red Bull had 2 DNFs. So Lewis got onto the podium in the first race, even though the car was clearly not a podium, contending car. And even I believe in Australia, I think they got a podium as well. Yeah, George got a podium as well. So they got a really good buffer to start off the season, which I am definitely not expecting Red Bull to have DNFs in the first 3 races this year. So I think they'll have to hit the ground running more. But personally, from what I saw in testing and from what I've seen from the Merc, I feel like they're not going to come out and just be really good from the start. I think from the way they've spoken, it's a car that they're going to develop over the season. Who knows? Maybe by mid-season, this could be the fastest car on the grid. Like, you never know. Yeah. Because with Merc, you can never rule them out, right? Like, they can find performance like I don't think any other team can. So, to answer your question, I think they're probably number 3. Would you put them at number 3 right now?
Yeah.
Or would you?
Probably, yes, still yes.
Yeah, they're probably number 3. But I don't think they're in the title. Like, I think there's only one team in the title race, but I don't think they're even at Ferrari's level, Merc.
And what do you think about Hamilton? Hamilton has come out and said like he's not going anywhere. He wants the 8th title, but if this season turns out to be another season where it's not really challenging, what does he do? You think?
I don't see him leaving this team. I think he's gonna stay and figure it out, because if not Merc, like where would he go to have a title contending car? Unless he goes to Ferrari, in which case, which I don't really see happening, because I don't see how the dynamic works. Because unless Leclerc leaves Ferrari, I don't see Hamilton coming in, and it's just, I don't think it's going to be the right situation for him. I definitely don't see him going to Red Bull. So then,
who knows? I would love to see Toto's face if that happens. Hamilton goes to Red Bull. Oh, that will be. I mean, I think people would have seen the whole Toto getting mad on Drive to Survive thing. That clip that's been going on. That's pretty funny. But imagine if Hamilton goes to Red Bull. Anyway,
But no, to clarify what I said, I said that Verstappen looks like the best driver in Formula One. We clearly know how good Lewis is, and I think, I still believe that under pressure, I don't think there's anyone in Formula One who can drive like him. Especially like when you need a result under pressure, like the way he drives, it's unlike anything you've seen in Formula One history. So I think he will, even with a bad car, he got some really good performances last year. And I think he will be very hungry to win this year as well. But I personally, I don't think the car is in a position to do that. But, and I mean, he's committed to the team, right? I don't think he wants to go anywhere. So
Yeah, of
who
course.
knows? Maybe it could be the middle of this year. Maybe it could be next year. But starting the season, I don't think they're going to hit the ground running, unless of course they're sandbagging and we are clearly
Yeah.
seeing something.
You don't know because I mean their delivery is just all black. I mean their car must be very light.
Yeah.
I think for them they had I watched the first day of testing with my friend because we were having some presentation we didn't care about, so we just watched testing. So in that, I mean, it was clear that out of the corners they seemed to be struggling. You know, they were struggling in corners. Probably they didn't have enough downforce, and maybe that's why they were struggling. I think they actually ran low downforce setup for Bahrain.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why, and they still had a decent time. Like I said, I mean, they were third fastest. So you never know. I mean, Merck, they have the resources. I know the cost cap is there and stuff like that, but these guys are smart. I mean, these guys went from, like I said, last season being stuck behind the AlphaTauri in Imola to easily beating Ferrari and Red Bull in Sao Paulo. So Merck will have something up their sleeves for sure. So I think that's it regarding our top three teams. It seems to be in that pecking order yet again. But if you look at the rest of the grid, it has, if testing is anything to go by, it has clearly changed the pecking order. And we are going to start off with one team that has impressed everyone that has been watching testing, and that team is Aston Martin.
Yeah.
So Shavin, I mean, when Seb left Ferrari and went to Racing Point, at that point they were changing to Aston Martin. He was thinking he'll go to a team that would challenge, that were fourth, that would challenge for podiums. Wasn't the case. They had the regulation issue in 2021, and then 2022 the car just wasn't there.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, Seb obviously had a massive part in the development, and now Fernando is there. He's driving at such a high level, and the car seems to be in a really, really good place.
Yeah.
It seems to be really promising for Aston Martin at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Seb had a lot to do with the development, and I think I am of the mindset that I think if he really believed that, he wanted to stay in Formula One and try another year, I think he would have. I mean, I'm very sad that he did leave, but I don't think it was anything to do with the car per se. I think maybe he just didn't have that, the hunger to stay in Formula One or whatever. But yeah, it is sad because I think now Aston Martin have a car. I mean, they were really, really impressive in testing. In long runs, short runs, the car looked really good, and it wasn't just Fernando out driving the car. It was the car genuinely looked good based on it looked good, and based on what a lot of sports analysts were saying, it genuinely seems like the best of the midfield. And firstly, I mean, the last time this team copied the best car on the grid, they were on the podium and they were really good.
They won a race.
They won a race. Yeah. And I think this year they have obviously clearly gone in the Red Bull direction, and they have a really good car, and now they have Fernando Alonso, who is a very big personality. Yeah. So, and he's not just a Formula One driver. He's the whole package.
Yes.
And I think we're going to see a lot of interesting moments, especially if and when Lance Stroll does come back. So, but talking about the team and the car, I think they're in a really good position, and I think Lawrence Stroll was not joking around when he said that he wanted this team to do well and to win championships, and he's clearly dug very deep into his pockets and pulled out a very, very good car, and pulled out a very definitely. And I mean, based off testing, this car looks on par with the Merc, at least, I think. I mean, I'm sure when it comes to race day, Merc will be ahead, but definitely the best of the rest, and not a good sign for your favorite team, I think.
Regardless, even if last time were not good, I don't think my team would be any much better, but we'll talk about them later. But I think for Aston, I think slowly, again, we don't want to curse anyone. We don't want to, push them up too much because it's just testing. But Aston seem to be delivering on their promise, because you're right about Lawrence Stroll. I mean, say what you want about the man.
Yeah.
He came into Formula One, bought this team when they were struggling. When they started investing money, he started to build that massive factory, a wind tunnel. He's clearly invested. He wants to make this team a proper team. He's done the investment. He's giving this team everything it needs to be one of the top teams. And the last 2 years, they kind of deviated from where they want to be, and I think that must have not been made him very happy. And right now, Aston Martin look to be going in that direction, the direction where Lawrence Stroll wants it to be, and which is great because it's always great to have more teams challenging for the championship as well. It's unfortunate that you need more money for that, but that is the nature of the sport. But Aston Martin at this point seem to be delivering on their promise of being a team, and right now it seems to be on par with his. I think it was a 5-year plan. Lawrence Stroll had initiated where at the end of 5 years he wanted Aston Martin to be a team that challenges for the championship. So I don't know whether we are just being too excited, and Aston Martin might just come crashing down again after Bahrain. But from what we've seen, leaving aside the failure at the start of testing, 9 laps in, Dragovic pulled up to the side and everyone had clicked pictures of Alonso, and they were putting messages saying he's already regretting and stuff like that. But that aside, I think Aston had a pretty incredible testing, and they seem to be the team to watch from the midfield. And who knows, maybe they can challenge the Mercs, and they might be able to get a few podiums here and there. But that's it on Aston Martin. Interesting there. Another team that was very impressive, I think, for a lot of people was Alfa Romeo, because this time last season, you look for the Alfa Romeo, it's parked somewhere at the edge of the track, and there's probably a tractor coming and trying to pick it up. It was so unreliable, but doesn't seem to be the case at all this time around. Bottas put it P3 once. I think Zhou Guanyu put it P2 or P3 once. They were consistent, regardless of what tire they used or whether they ran a low fuel setup, whatever. They have some pace. They have some pretty good pace. Obviously, the Ferrari engine seems to be working well with them. They had a bit of a concern towards the end of day 3, I think, when Zhou Guanyu's car stopped, and apparently they first thought it was a hydraulic issue, but then turned out to be a PU issue, I think. And then all the Ferrari fans got, oh my gosh, this is the start of the end. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they really spoke much about that. But leaving that aside, Alfa Romeo, again, a team that impressed. They had a pretty good season, keeping aside the reliabilities. Whenever they had the car running, which was like the first 9 races, basically, they had decent pace. And they have carried that into this season. And Bottas, seems to be more free. He's enjoying, himself. And Alfa looked to be a team also that can challenge, maybe not as much as Aston. Who knows? But they are a team who could be on the sharp end of the midfield. And maybe here and there sneaking a podium. Who knows if one of the top 3 have a bad day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to your point, I think there was one session where I think Bottas was only 2 tenths behind Hamilton. Obviously, we don't know what fuel loads they were running and so on. It's hard to say, but the car looks really good. And I think also, like you said, Bottas seems to be really settling into that role of the team leader, and he has a rookie under him who also I rate fairly well. I think Zhou Guanyu is a very good driver. So,
I think Zhou Guanyu, sorry to cut across, but just I think what's impressive about him is he's pretty fearless. I mean, for his first season in Formula One, everyone was criticizing him because Piastri didn't get the seat and he got the seat. They're like, paid drive and everything. Yeah. But he impressed in his first race, and then throughout, I think usually people would expect, when rookie comes in, he's thankful just to be in F1, to race with, the greats. But, it wasn't the case. When he was having all these DNFs because of reliability, he was pushing the team saying, guys, come on, this can't be the case every week. Yeah. We need to sort this out because we are losing crucial points. And that, I think that was pretty impressive because he wasn't there just to be, just to make up the numbers. He wanted to score points, I think. So I think he's impressed a lot of people with the way he drives.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, like you said, it's a bit hard to judge the midfield after Aston because Alpine, obviously we didn't see anything too much from Alpine, like you said, but like we spoke about before the podcast, but we don't know how their performance will be, whether they have sorted their reliability issues out. And if so, if they can maintain performance from last year, I think they'll be a very strong contender as well. Obviously, like we'll speak about, I think we'll speak about later, McLaren has dropped down the order. But there's definitely signs for Alfa to be confident given the fact that the drivers are settling in and the car looked comfortable and fairly quick throughout testing, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, sure, I think the midfield will have a small reshuffle.
Yeah.
Before we go to the teams that probably didn't have, I mean, it's pretty obvious who it is, but who probably didn't have the greatest of testing.
Yeah.
Just I thought it would be important to mention that every team, bar Alpine, if you take their times during testing last season and compare it with this season, all of them have made a improvement in terms of the times that the fastest time they had set, which shows that they've been working hard in terms of the development and focusing on reliability and those kind of things. Alpine probably had a lesser time than last season, probably because of the fact that if you remember last season, they were focusing on just having a fast engine instead of a reliable engine, and obviously so the Alpine was a rocket, but it just blew up every time. This season they're probably working on the reliability aspect of their car, so they must have tuned down the engine quite a bit to make sure that it doesn't blow up. And maybe that's why they have a slower lap time compared to last season. I mean, you can talk about Alpine quickly because I don't think there's much to talk about. But for them, there wasn't anything significant from the Alpine testing period. They did their laps. I think they had covered what they wanted to cover, but nothing significant. Do Alpine need to be worried about anything, or do you think they're just trying to iron out all the problems they had and try to be solid before the season starts?
Yeah, like you said, I think we didn't see anything too significant from them, but I really hope that I mean, obviously we'll find out on Sunday, but given the fact that they have two super talented young drivers and the fact that Pierre Gasly is now out of that AlphaTauri team, and I really hope the car is in a decent place for him to start showcasing his skills again, because clearly he was very limited in that team. So yeah, I think that's about it in terms of Alpine.
All right, so let's go to team with the problems that started off from the launch.
I think ask this question, Abhishek.
Sorry, okay, fine.
Where does McLaren finish, and why is it not in the midfield?
No. I mean, I think they still have decent pace. They will have their developments because I think Stella or Zach Brown had said that they have an upgrade package coming in time for Baku. Which is so they're definitely going to be on the back foot when they do get their upgrade package, but they will get an upgrade package. But it's very unfortunate because they have two drivers who have immense talent. Lando Norris was outstanding last season, probably the best of the rest, outside the top three. Probably I would say pretty darn close to the top drivers as well. If you take people like Hamilton, Norris, and Sainz, Lando sometimes put better performances in my opinion. I mean, more or less. I mean, pretty close. Yeah, and you have a guy like I said last time in Piastri who is hyped to be the next big thing in Formula One. Clearly, he has talent. Oscar Piastri. It's not just noise. He is a very talented driver. So you have two, and they are both young. Norris is our age. Shavin is 24 like us. Piastri is also our age, like he's 24, 23. So you have two young, exciting drivers, and when they don't have a car, and they are world champion material, and when they don't have a car, it is frustrating. It is going to be frustrating for them, and you could see that Norris was kind of frustrated with all the photos that have been taken so far, and I mean the videos that have surfaced of him in the paddock, in the garage, in the McLaren garage. I mean, they said that we managed to do a few laps, but they easily were the team with the least amount of laps, which is never ideal. Teams are, I mean, there were teams who had done over 400 laps, and they're saying, it's not enough, it's never enough. You could always do more laps. There's so much more information you could get, and McLaren were like 100 laps below the top teams. So McLaren seem to have a lot of issues that need to work out. Unfortunately, it did start off well because at the launch itself, I think Stella and Zach Brown said that they had not met their goals in terms of the aerodynamic development. which is always a massive setback. You always want your car to be at its best
Probably the most
aerodynamically.
important thing, right?
Of course, probably. I'm not sure. That's why Lawrence told focus on giving his valuable advice for the aerodynamics last season, because it's the most important. That was a joke. But coming back to McLaren, of course, doesn't start off. It's not the greatest start when you have problems with your aerodynamics. So that problem is there. They come to testing, and on the first day you see the McLaren mechanics putting duct tape on their brake ducts again, and you're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I mean, they had the brakes overheating problem last time as well, and I don't know if it's the exact same problem this time around, but there still seems to be a problem in that area, because they had the coolants. I think the coolants are not, either coolants are too heavy and they're falling off, or there's a bunch of problems happening there with McLaren that needs to be sorted out. So a bunch. It's not the ideal start for McLaren, and where this will affect them, how this will affect them rather, in terms of their position in the constructor standings. For me, the biggest threat will be Aston Martin, because they're the only team that seem to be that seems to be challenging at this point. Alpine is there, yes, of course, no question, but Alpine also are now trying to work on the reliability, so they might turn down the engine power, and that might help McLaren a bit. But for now, I think McLaren should be worried about Aston Martin, because they are the team that's going to join them in the fight. And Alfa Romeo, I would say, but mainly Aston Martin for McLaren.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, like you mentioned at the start, McLaren has probably one of the best driver pairings in F1, because Oscar Piastri is probably the most hyped up rookie since like Lewis Hamilton, right?
Probably.
Since Hamilton, and Lando is a guy that even Max has rated that could be challenging him for a championship. Along with guys like Charles. So you clearly have two very talented drivers, and I think.
Okay, bro.
Okay.
That happened after you said Leclerc's name, by the way.
After I said Leclerc.
So
after I said Max, I think. Clearly two very talented drivers, but it's very sad that because if you take Aston, I mean, Fernando Alonso is a tremendous driver. Lance Stroll is a driver.
Lance has put some good performances here and there.
I mean, he's an okay driver, but if you compare Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, against them, you would probably pick that pairing. So, like you said, it's very sad that they don't have the car, and Lando. There was a video surfaced of Lando punching the wall in frustration.
Yeah.
Because the whole narrative is that this McLaren car is built around Lando Norris, and Lando himself said that they have definitely not done a good job if they built a car around him, because even he finds it challenging to drive. So, and
the worst part for Lando, sorry to cut you off, but I mean, if this is going to be the trend, he's signed to McLaren till 26.
Exactly.
And there's the whole rumor that apparently he was approached by Red Bull to sign there, and he said no to that, to stick to the McLaren project.
Yeah.
And the worst rumor of all is the fact that apparently McLaren talked with Honda. to have a have a reunion of sorts. Who knows, if it's the first time around, you will have McLaren dominating the World Championship like from the 85 season to 1990, or you will have from 15 to 2018 where
what a car.
Yes. Yes. The engine feels like GP2 engine. Yeah.
But I mean, it's crazy that Lando still doesn't have a car to fight for a championship, because a lot of people believe that he should be winning races and he should be fighting for the championship. So, like you said, the car does have a lot of issues in different places. One, like you said, is the brake heating. I read that the brake was heating and that was causing like small winglets on the front wing to fall off. So those are all clearly like structural issues everywhere in the car, which they haven't sorted out. And
it's been over a year, because this probably came out in Bahrain. It was only in Bahrain, probably because of temperatures, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's been over a year, and they still haven't got. If they still haven't got, a solution Lambe should be
Yeah.
taking, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy to just talk about it. No, we don't know
Yeah.
what's going on behind the scenes, but it's a
Yeah.
shame, really. If they're going to start off the season again on the back foot,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if they're going to play catch up like last season, then
Yeah.
there's no point basically
Yeah.
having such a good lineup, in Piastri and Ricardo. I just said Ricardo. Norris. I was because I was thinking of Ricardo because of the fact
Yeah.
that last time around he sort of became the scapegoat,
Yeah.
for McLaren's troubles when clearly it
Yeah.
was. I mean, Ricardo would have had these problems as well, but
Yeah.
the McLaren was not that great, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was not a great car. It was the only car, in my opinion, that was. I mean, there were other cars as well, but from a car that could challenge, it was the only car that seemed to be nowhere. They didn't seem to have this massive straight line speed. They didn't have that. They didn't have speed in the corners as well. Like it was a car that was like a jack of all trades basically, but it would suddenly come alive, and suddenly it would just go. I mean, Alpine had crazy straight line speed. Even the Williams and the Aston Martin, who was like 9th and 10th at one point. At one point, they had like crazy straight line speed. At least they had that.
Yeah.
McLaren seemed to be, along with AlphaTauri, seemed to be like the only car that was just nowhere.
Also, I mean, this is a completely different discussion. I think we can make a different episode about this, but it's not even related to the start of the season. But if Lewis Hamilton is to retire over the next 2 years or whatever, if he decides to call it quits, I think, in my opinion, there is maybe maybe two or three drivers who they would take to replace him. And given the fact that where McLaren is, I think there is a very clear option to replace him. And obviously, F1 contracts can be bought out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think you know where I'm going with this.
Of course,
It's not a very good sign, because I think, like I said, Lando. Obviously, I'm talking about Lando, but Lando would be a very easy replacement for that seat. So yeah, I think for McLaren's sake, I hope George.
Yeah, but it would be cool to see George and Lando in the same car trying to battle it out. But Mick is also there for Merc. I think people would hope that Mick might get a seat, but I don't know. So yeah, I think that's about it. I think all of us are excited for the season to start. Just before we finish, just obviously to mention Williams and Haas as well. I don't know, and AlphaTauri, they had some pretty good. I think they were very impressive. I mean, Haas had a good season last year. They were not at the back of the grid, but Williams and AlphaTauri, who struggled a lot last season, they had the most laps.
Yeah,
they had a significant improvement on their pace last season. Williams still had the slowest time overall, but they had a pretty good testing. They had the most laps, second most laps after AlphaTauri. Sargent, who is a rookie, did pretty well. Albon is also driving at a really good level. And the same can be said with Tsunoda and De Vries. De Vries, even though he's a rookie, has experience. And Tsunoda as well, like he needs to start, like we said last time, needs to start, coming into his role as probably team leader, because De Vries is new to the whole Red Bull / AlphaTauri setup. But those two teams had a pretty good testing period as well. So testing is done, everything is done. Very soon you're going to see the new opening titles for the 2023 season.
Okay, before we end the show, quick question.
I know what you're going to ask.
Who wins Bahrain?
So tough. So this, like I said, I have a feeling that Leclerc might win the championship, even though it doesn't seem like there, but the because of the whole history repeating itself thing, Hamilton 7-time champion, Schumacher 7-time, then Alonso, Verstappen, then the Ferrari guy wins it, so Leclerc should win it. Raikkonen won it, so but keeping that aside, I mean Max seems to be the clear favorite, but the guy who wins the first race comes second. So I'm going to go that Checo wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. Okay. And he could have incentive because, of the situation that happened, maybe at Sao Paulo, maybe he wants to make a point. So Checo to win, Max second, Charles third. We do want to mention that we will be doing our off-the-grid audio-only episodes after each race, just to cover, like we did last season, just to cover everything that went on and look ahead to the next season as well. So do stay tuned. And until next time, from Shavin and myself, it's the GrandStand Podcast and also from Kavinka somewhere in Sri Lanka, in Colombo. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and bye bye.
See you.
Oh, cut. This is not like Zoom. It doesn't tell you when you're recording.
You're recording. We are recording now. We are recording.
Okay.